everybody thinks you need 20% down to buy a home. There's federal programs. They could be anywhere from 0, depending on the program, to 3.5% to 5%, but less than 20.
I was saving all that fat cash, and I was the richest man alive with about $30,000 in my bank account. Like, how do people actually create wealth? Like, do you truly have to be born into it? I've got no shot. And something just, a switch flipped in my brain that day.
He had the vision that we would use the VA benefit, and we've kept on this track of really just purchasing a home at every duty station, and the only time we didn't was when we were stationed overseas in Naples.
Our success in our industry, and really in any industry, is about relationships. How do you make that person feel? Are you just a transaction?
Welcome to In Search of Excellence Island Style, powered by the Broker Mortgage Experts. This podcast highlights leaders raising the standard through consistent, values-driven leadership, lived with Aloha.
Hey, it's Larry Gonzales, the branch leader for Broker Mortgage Experts, and we're coming to you from the Broker Mortgage Experts studio here in Kapolei, Oahu, and we are here for our podcast, In Search of Excellence Island Style. I'm here with my team of loan officers, great loan officers, great people who served our country and continue to serve today, just in a different light, but still serving. And we're going to talk about what makes people successful, not just people, but companies. And the In Search of Excellence actually came from a book I read. It's by Tom Peters and Robert Waterman called In Search of Excellence. And I didn't really read this book at first, but when I was active duty in the Navy, there's a magazine called Naval Proceedings, and it's a professional magazine. And there was an article that was entitled In Search of Excellence in the Surface Navy. And so I was on ships, and it basically used the 8 tenets from In Search of Excellence. And these 2 officers who were at postgraduate school, they went all around the fleet to the best performing ships in the Navy, and they figured out what those ships did to be excellent, because a ship is a ship. It's just a big piece of steel in the water. But what separates the great ships from the not so great ships? The same thing goes for companies. The same thing goes for people who are sole business owners. And so that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to have on this show, not just real estate agents and other lenders, but we're going to have business owners who are doing things right and really making a difference in Hawaii and, quite frankly, across the country by being and maintaining excellence in what they do. So before we go any further, I want to introduce the team. We'll kind of go around the room, and we'll start with Micheal Melso, who is a retired Marine. Mike, do me a favor, tell the crowd a little bit about yourself. Everybody wants to know who you are. Good-looking guy next to me. Believe it or not, he's older than me. And what got you into lending? And there's a lot of people in the industry who walk the walk, or talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. I.e., they might lend, they might be realtors, but they don't even own a home. But you're more than just a lender. So tell us a little bit about that, Mike.
Okay, great. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
And so, folks, I'm going to smile. Larry said smile. I'm going to smile. So I'm a retired Marine, as Larry said, and most of my life I wanted to be a Marine and was able to accomplish that and retire. Now, that led me to service and supporting folks. So the lending business is interesting. And I had a guy when I was a teenager who was a mortgage officer, and he seemed to have it all together. And he was always helping people in the neighborhood. He was there for everybody. So I never went that path. Retired from the Marine Corps, went into consulting, and then moving here with my family and my wife being active duty Army, said, okay, here's an opportunity for me to pursue something in real estate, because I'm also a real estate investor. So I said, let me look at becoming a loan officer. And so I did that. I went in, took the test, passed the test, and now I'm a loan officer, getting the support, still support folks and help vets and whoever else, families looking for a home. So really great opportunity for me. So, okay. You have another question, Larry?
What is most misunderstood, do you think, about mortgages?
Okay. this is probably the biggest thing. And if anybody looks online, you're probably going to see that everybody thinks you need 20% down to buy a home. Well, there's a number of programs that you don't need to do that. There's federal programs, and there's also programs that lenders have that allow you to put down less than 20%. It could be anywhere from 0, depending on the program, to 3.5 to 5%, but less than 20. And that makes a big difference in the affordability for somebody, for them not to have to take all their money out of their investments to buy a home and not change their whole world in order to do that. So I think that really is, Larry, that you don't need 20% down.
Got it. All right, next up, we got Dan Sepulveda. He is not my son. Somebody's asked me that, like multiple people have asked me that multiple times. But Dan and I did get into the industry same time, back 2016, 2017. And Dan, much like me, made a great choice in his life and joined the Navy. But we had different paths. And Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So again, Dan Sepulveda. Let's see. I joined the Navy in 2010 as a hospital corpsman. For those of you that don't know, that's essentially just a combat medic in the Navy. I had the liberty of serving with the Marine Corps the first 3.5, 4 years of my time in the Navy. Able to deploy with them a couple times overseas before PCSing out here to Hawaii in 2014. So yeah, I've been taking care of people really since 2010.
Yeah, for sure. And what drew you into the real estate industry?
Yeah, I'll never forget. It was a super pivotal memory that sticks out in my mind. It was 2016. I think I was 28 years old. And I remember up until that point, I was doing all the right things I was taught by my family. Up until that point, I was saving as much money as I possibly could. I had 2 deployments downrange with the Marines. I saved a bunch of that cash. I didn't spend it like some Lance Corporals may have. But I was saving all that fat cash, and I was the richest man alive with about $30,000 in my bank account. And the pivotal moment for me was when Navy Federal was so kind enough to give me a little return on my investment, all about 14 cents. And I never forget, I was just like, man, like I'm doing all the right things. Like, how do people do this? Like, how do people actually create wealth? Like, you truly have to be born into it. I've got no shot. And something just, a switch flipped in my brain that day to take action, which we're going to get into. To take action. And for whatever reason, that action for me, which is a conversation for another day, was hitting submit on Zillow. And although I have, we can go into depths on whether or not that's a good idea. It was the moment for me that everything changed, because within 30 seconds, my phone rang and someone's on the other side of that line. It was actually a peer of yours at a previous company. And within 24 hours, I'm sitting down getting pre-approved. Didn't know it, but with the loan officer at that time. And really everything just kind of kicked into motion from that moment. Within 2 years, 1, I learned what this word equity meant. Mm-hmm. And 2, my $30,000 was now 37, 42 as I added on equity to my net worth via this home. So that's what drew me to the industry. And really that's search for learning more about building wealth, and more importantly, sharing the news and teaching others to do the same is really what has not only drawn me to the industry, but kept me in this, because I truly do believe in the power of real estate to build wealth for your family.
You own multiple homes as well, right?
Yeah, been fortunate. Like I said, started at age 28, small condo. I took things slow and smooth and conservative, where I purchased a couple of condos here on the island. I went up to 3. I sold 1. Paid off all debt. The only debt that I have are mortgages, but that allowed me to continue to build assets, which allowed me to break into the multifamily syndication investing on the mainland and just continue to see greater opportunities past that.
Yeah, awesome.
If I could just take a second, Larry.
Yeah.
Real quick. So Dan said something earlier. It's just kind of in the lexicon of Marines and the corpsmen that serve with us. Is Dan wasn't putting down Lance Corporals. It really wasn't. It's just kind of in the lexicon. We all use that.
I know ensigns and lieutenants who were spending all their money too. I might have been one of them. So
Lance Corporal, Lieutenant, whatever.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah,
That's fair.
All right. And then we got Eli David, Sarah Eli David. And tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you in the industry, and what excites you about being a loan officer.
Oh, well, I'm Eli David, and I am an Air Force vet, and I served 11 years, and then I decided to separate and try something new. And so I went back to LA, and I met my future husband there, and then he enlisted in the Navy. And on our first assignment, we purchased. That was very important to him. And he had the vision that we would use the VA benefit. And we've kept on this track of really just purchasing a home at every duty station. And the only time we didn't was when we were stationed overseas in Naples. But it has served our family really well. And we have a really wonderful portfolio of homes and investments. And so that's how my journey in real estate started, was just within our family. And after we arrived here, Jonah, again, my husband was very insistent, we just need to purchase. And I was really like, oh my gosh, it's so expensive out there. But we did. And again, we have not regretted it. And that was when I realized I really just need to dive into this. And, we love real estate. Let me dive in and become a loan officer. So that's really how my real estate story for us. And what I'm excited about real estate is really, like everybody's kind of echoing here, is sharing it with other families, friends. I'm continually meeting people who did not even consider buying, and realizing what kind of an investment that could be for them and their family. So that's kind of my story here with real investment.
You know what? I want to know, how'd you meet your husband?
Okay. So my husband he's active duty in the Navy. He's a musician. He's a drummer, which is a very unique position in the Navy. But we met in LA, which is where I'm from, because I was interested in taking drum lessons. I'd always wanted to take drum lessons. And I was like, you know what? Sure, there's somebody out here that I could find that I can take lessons with. And he just happened to be 1 mile down the road from me. So I started taking lessons from him, and
Smooth operator.
yeah, and the rest is history. So I'm not taking lessons anymore.
Well, hey, that's a little bit about us. We're going to take a break for our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to break down the 8 tenets in Search of Excellence, island style. We'll be back. Midway through today's conversation, we want to thank Gonzales Hawaii Vacation Rentals, offering exceptional vacation experiences in Hawaii and Annapolis, Maryland. Whether you're waking up to ocean views in the islands or enjoying waterfront charm and sailing culture on the Chesapeake Bay, Gonzales Hawaii Vacation Rentals delivers comfort, elegance, and unforgettable experiences. If excellence matters in how you live and lead, it should matter in how you relax. Plan your next escape with Gonzales Hawaii Vacation Rentals. Hey, we're back. One of the things I want to talk about real quick, we're going to get into the 8 tenets, but not one of us woke up wanting to be a loan officer. It's something that nobody ever thinks of. I didn't even know what a loan officer was when I found out what a loan officer was when I went to the golf course, and I was golfing with a loan officer, and he was explaining to me what he did. I had no idea. The bank, I just thought I went to a bank for the loan. I didn't really know I had a loan officer. Don't even remember his name. And that's kind of the way most people are about him. But nobody wakes up one morning and says, I want to be a loan officer. It doesn't happen. They may say they want to be a realtor because they watch HGTV, but nobody wants to be a loan officer. But I learned from some great people, just like you learn from some great people in this industry, and that's kind of what got us here. So let's talk about excellence. Let's talk about excellence island style. We're going to go through each of the 8 tenets here. So you tell me, what the first tenet is: move with mana. And tell me, what does that mean to you guys?
I can start. It just means take action. I'll never forget, like, one of my first mentors in the industry, the background on his computer was 1 is greater than 0. And again, one of those things in my mind that was such a memory. At the time, I'm like, okay, cool, math, whatever. You know what I mean? But now that I look back at it, it literally just means do something. Something is better than nothing. Take action. You can even go as far as saying, fail forward. 80% is better than 0%. You have to take action. You'll learn along the way. Surround yourself with mentors. Take up a book, educate yourself, but every single day, just take one step forward.
That reminds me of Colin Powell. Can be heard. He's like, make a good decision with 80% of the information is better than making no decision. So it's like, you may not have all the information, but if you have 80%, you can move forward and make a solid decision and take action. So, yeah.
It was perfect is the enemy of good enough. Just get out there. And in the Nike saying, just do it. I mean, it's very simple. Just do it. So what about you, Mike?
So yeah, it leads me to either Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan or any great athlete that's going to tell you you can't miss a shot that you don't take.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have to do it. And that's what it comes down to, taking that step. And that step sometimes is hard, but you got to do it to move forward.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? How do you get to the position to buy a home one step at a time? How do you build a legacy, a financial legacy one step at a time? You don't become rich like that. I mean, not a lot of people win the lottery, and hell, most of the people who win the lottery lose all their money anyway.
Right.
You don't see bank presidents playing the lottery, right? They actually, step by step, made their money, built their legacy. So that's move with Mana, the first one. The second one is serve with Aloha. It's all about relationships. What does that mean to you guys?
Well, I think what really struck me about Hawaii is, you hear about the Aloha, but then until you actually get here and get to know the culture and the people, you really start to understand what that Aloha is. And it is a very warm and genuine desire to treat people well and to create relationships. And to me, that's just really made an impression on me about being out here, is how we treat each other, whether you're the buyer or the purchaser or, an intermediary or a counselor. It's treating everybody with the best intention to help them in this process.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I think, I almost think it goes down to like biblical principles. You treat others better than you treat oneself. Serving with Aloha for me means just, as much as we have our scripts and our consultations and our checklist that we want to go through with clients, I always like to prep clients that I'm meeting with to say, you know what, there seems to be a lot on your mind right now. Do me a solid, take the evening, you and your husband, you and your spouse, and just literally take everything out of your brain, put it onto paper, put it in a note, put it in a text. And tomorrow when we meet, I've got my spiel that I'm prepared to get into, and we can, so long as you offer me enough time. But more important than that, I want to make sure that everything on your mind is addressed. And it could be anything from the money, the numbers, the schools, the neighborhoods, the you name it, what a HOA is, what a maintenance fee is. I want to make sure that everything that is on their mind is first and foremost the priority, the one priority, right? Put yourself in that back seat, put yourself as the industry professionals. We need to put ourselves in a secondary position, yes, as the professional, but even more so as the true service with Aloha, as we're getting at, address their needs first above your own.
So Aloha, for those who don't live here or haven't lived here, just got here, whatever it be, is a really complex word. It's hello, it's goodbye, it's everything you want it to be, but it's a lot deeper, as both Eli and Dan just brought up. And it's about relationships, and it's about bringing the true you, the real you, to the party and doing your best in the development of those relationships.
It is about relationships. Well, our success in our industry, and really in any industry, is about relationships. How do you make that person feel? Are you just a transaction? When you've gone to and bought something, and the person who's selling you isn't really interested in anything about you, they just want to talk about themselves, or they just want to get this over with because it's almost closing time. I got a date tonight or something, so they want to bolt. That's not serving with Aloha. That's serving selfishly, not selfishly, selflessly, but selfishly. So to me, it's how do you want to serve? It's like, and I always think of Aloha, it's just driving here. Just driving on an island. Not too many, single digit fingers going your ways. It's mostly a shaka. You cut somebody off, don't make a habit of it. But most times you give a shaka, roll down the window, and
You know, everybody kind of understands that. You know, you don't hear too many people honking their horns in Hawaii, except people who are new to Hawaii and they'll realize that. You honk your horn at the wrong person, that person's going to drive you down. They're going to follow you. Just be nice. And that's kind of what I think with Serving with Aloha. The other number 3 is build Ohana. All right, the culture, the team culture. Right? And to me, that is with certainly as a loan officer, it's not just you. It's your relationship with your realtor partners, with your escrow partners, and then even with your clients. There's that one saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's what building Ohana is. And having a good team around you kind of helps you do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that really comes down to being authentic and being genuine. And when you are that, naturally, your relationships and creating that Ohana is going to happen because, in your family, you are genuine and you deeply care about these people. And when you extend that beyond your family, they become family too. So that's how I kind of see that.
And you can't fake that.
Right.
Your kid, like if you fake that stuff with your kids, their kids are going to call you out. Yeah. I know my kids will. So what about you guys?
Yeah. So Ohana is family, right? So it gets to building relationships, and then also it emanates from really who you are and how you are actually with your family and how you were brought up and what you do to pull in and spend your time with the people that are going to help you become a better person and that you're going to help them become a better person. So that's the kind of people you want to surround yourself with that you call family.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind with Ohana is kind of like chapters in a book for me. What's important is to meet them where they are. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we're on chapter 10, 12, 13 of, a wealth building journey or of a family or whatever it may be. But, when we're servicing that 21-year-old, when we're servicing that young married couple, 25 with their firstborn, like, it's easy to forget, being in those shoes, right? My son just turned 21, right? It's quick to forget those feelings and being in those young shoes. So I think it's very important to, again, as industry professionals, check our egos at the door, check our statuses at the door, and meet our clients where they are in their life. Take that pause, take a breath, remember where we were at that time, maturity, knowledge, information, technology, all these different things, and meet our clients.
Why are you looking at me with technology, man? Come on. No, you're right. So the next one, stand for something. What are your values? To me, that's why I started the broker here, is because I didn't want to just do loans. I wanted to make successful homeowners. And so much of what we do, the thing with a loan is easy. It really is. You got to get income, assets, and credit. And you figure out what you can do and what the buyer can afford. But what do you do after they close? I know when I bought my first home, I had no idea. I had no idea what to do with my home. I had no idea how to protect it. Do I need a home warranty? Do I need to put it in a trust? Do estate plan? What the hell's estate plan? I'm not Downton Abbey. I got one home. So what we do certainly at the broker is, how do we make you a successful homeowner? With every client that we have, that's my goal, is to make you a successful homeowner. And with most lenders, they're going to reach out to you maybe on a holiday, which isn't bad. Or they're going to reach out to you when it's time to refinance, but otherwise, they're probably not. And more often than not, because you don't stay in touch with your clients, because you don't stand for them being a successful homeowner, they're going to forget you. Because everybody's living their own lives. It is interesting. In this book, it talks about the guy who was a top car salesman in the world for years. And he used to send out every month over 1,300 letters to all of his clients. Every month, a card to his clients. And when I started out, I was doing the same thing. I read the book, and it's part of that ninja selling thing, sending something out. And I've dropped off. I'm going to get back on that. But to me, it's a small thing, but it means a lot. It keeps you top of mind. And they're going to come to you, and you want them to come to you with questions, not go on to ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is wrong sometimes. That's what I hear anyway, right? Right, Dan? What do you guys think on standing for something?
I'll take it. I'll go. I agree with everything you're saying, Larry, and it comes down to supporting the customer and having our values of whatever it be, integrity, honesty, and treating people the best that we can treat them, and providing a service that gives them what they need without, to address something Dan was saying earlier, without overstepping their bounds and confusing them or seeming condescending. It's really meeting somebody where they're at, but also bringing them along and allowing them to trust you in doing that.
I think you used the word earlier. That was one of the first things that came to mind is being authentic. And part of being authentic is as professionals, when we have to determine what those values are for ourselves. And once you determine what those values are, those principles, those values, those ethics, those morals, they become non-negotiables. That's the baseline. That's the foundation in which you operate. And the beauty of life really is once you establish those non-negotiable morals, principles for oneself, it pours out in your interactions with everybody you come into contact with. And because ideally those are, principles of integrity and good things, the relationships that you create are just going to maximize. And then, as they say, they'll have greater degrees of separation into other circles. So long as you establish great ethics, morals, principles for oneself, and they become non-negotiable, you're going to interact in a way that the universe is just going to serve it. Going back to ninja selling, the universe is just going to give it right back to you.
Yeah, that's right. Abe Lee. Abe Lee's man. So next one is keep it lean. And we're not talking about our physical health, but keep it lean. What is that? What do you think of that?
Well, when I hear that, I think
Not because you're the leanest person here.
I do think immediately. I think of get rid of the waste, get rid of the stuff that doesn't serve you. Whether it's the negative thoughts in your head that drive you to make bad decisions or think terrible things are going to happen. Just get rid of the waste and operate on what is true and reality. So maybe that's kind of, I don't know if I'm really hitting the...
I hadn't even thought about just the negative thoughts, getting those out. That's huge.
Yeah, so that to me is lean, because that's what a lot of us deal with are those thoughts in our head that stop us from doing things and from taking action and doing things like that. So,
What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, so from an industry perspective, I mean, it can be very tactical, right? I mean, we're talking about AI today. We're talking about tech. It could be lean in the sense of like stop the noise. Like it's what is this, shiny object syndrome, right? And you're just going after that one next thing when you haven't mastered what's in front of you. So from a tactical perspective, it's just like stop with the noise, right? But to your point, I know who my North Star is at all times. And because I know who my North Star is, I keep it lean, just like you're saying, with all the other noise, the negativity, or relationships that do not serve, transactions that I just, have no business being a part of, whether or not it's a mixed match of personalities of whatever it may be. So long as I have a North Star, I tend to keep it lean in my daily existence, which it all just kind of sorts out itself. So it's kind of nice.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Just the waste piece, just the negative thoughts, but they're there. We all have them. I don't care how good you are. Right. You just got to push them aside. And that's not easy. It's easier said than done. What about you, Mike?
From a business perspective, lean is simple. Keeping it simple. As a business person, as an entrepreneur, we're inundated with so much information right now with the technology and everything. And we want to make everything so complex. But the simpler you can do it, the simpler you can keep your message, the more you will be able to execute effectively. And people will understand your message. So lean does mean removing the waste and really focus on what do I need to do this? And how do I do it? Letters, handwritten to somebody.
Nobody does it.
So,
There are so many things that I started doing when I started in the industry that people weren't doing, and I'm doing most of them still today, and people still aren't doing them. But they wonder why they're not successful. For me, when I first started, I went to this. I was in a coaching group, and I went to this mastermind event. It was in Vegas or near Vegas, not quite Vegas. And I remember going there, and they had all these different tech solutions to make your job easier. And I'm like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. Next thing you know, I have all these things, and for about a year, and I'm paying all this money for them, but I'm not even using them. So at some point, I'm like, all right, I don't need that. And ultimately, why do I have these tech solutions anyway? Does it help me create a successful homeowner? Does it make my job of making successful homeowners easier? And if it doesn't, then why am I paying for it? Why am I doing it? One of the things that we do, certainly, every year we go through, actually, not even every year, just every month I'm going through, is there a better way to do this? It's not so hard, because I have a team and somebody's got to do it. They know I can't do anything, so they're doing it. Am I making this harder for them? And how can I make it easier for them to do their job? So that's, to me, was keep it lean. But the negative thoughts piece, just the negative relationships piece too, get rid of those. Yeah. You don't want to work with everybody. There's certain people, we know in our industry who probably don't want to work with. Next one is, I like this one, stay in your zone. This is a rough one for me when I start, because I want to do everything. And I remember my boss, don't make faces over there. I remember my boss telling me, Larry, just stick to VA loans. Yeah, but I want to do this 40-year interest-only loan. Just stick to VA loans. And he was right. Stick to, get a niche. And we talk about this in some of the other mastermind groups that we're in. Get a niche, stick to the niche. Don't try to do everything at once. Once you get that niche down, then maybe try some other things, maybe investment loans, DSCR loans. So that, to me, is just be great at what you're doing. You can't, what's that saying? Jack of all trades, a master of none. So for me, we obviously mastered VA loans, and now we're branching out. We've done I'd say we used to be 95% VA. Now we're probably 75%, maybe even less with all the other loan products. Actually, I know we're less with all the other loan products that we're doing investor wise. So we still don't do any FHA. I mean, I think we did one FHA loan last year. That's the other thing. Don't be an expert on something that's not going to help you grow your business. You can be the top USDA lender in the state, but how many USDA loans are done on the state? Focus on what will, in our case, make us the most money and give us the most impact. What about you guys?
Okay, so the tenet from the book, Larry, if I remember correctly, is just keep knitting.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, when I first read and looked at it, I was like, what does that mean? What do you mean? But it's doing what you know. Doing what you know and keeping it at that level for whatever point. You can develop the pipelines as you go along, but you have to do what you know first in order to get there. To get down the road, to move forward, to be comfortable moving forward, you got to do what you know. So that's actually a pretty powerful one, and we do want to stray from that. We want to always broaden our scope. This is really an important one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it almost goes audaciously into like stay in your lane. And it's not like a matter of like stay in your lane, but it's just like, be, like you said, be a master of a certain craft, be the go-to, be the primary, be like, if you have a question on X, I'm going to Larry. And that's an important thing to strive for. And then the other side of it, it's also a better way of developing one's own reputation and, presence in the industry, because a position to strive for is to be the source of the source. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to go to Larry because Larry knows people, right? And while Larry's not going to maybe spit me bad information about a solar lease versus own panels and everywhere in between, because that spectrum is massive, I know Larry knows that household. And that guy is, one of the best aces you can have in your pocket for just understanding solar. So you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be that master of nothing, but you can, in the development of your relationships, find those other professionals, which creates you into such an invaluable member in the workplace. So.
Yeah, I love being a connector. That's the fun part of one of the fun things about what we do is you meet your networking and meeting other people for sure. How about you there, Eli?
I think you guys pretty much covered it. I don't want to repeat, but yeah, you guys hit it on the nose. You're just focusing in really building that core competency and becoming a master.
Now, the next one, freedom with accountability. To me, that is don't micromanage, trust but verify, but don't micromanage. You point your people in the direction they need to go and you let them go. And obviously, you're there to give them course corrections as necessary, but you let them do it. Because the way they're going to do it may actually be better than the way you're going to do it. Especially if you're like an old guy like me and I don't understand a lot of tech things. They'll figure it out. People will figure it out. So that's, to me, freedom with accountability.
I think it's so important, too, that when you give that freedom of accountability, it just builds that trust between every member. If you don't have that trust, if you feel like you're always being micromanaged or second guessed, that's not going to develop the relationships. But, you know, if you know that they trust you, that only builds the relationships internally as a team. So.
Yeah, there's actually two parts of this tenet. Is that freedom, but also structure, rules to follow. So, because we all need guidelines, we need that left and right lateral limit. So a mission order that the Marine Corps gives to a young Marine is going to let him or her do what they need to do to accomplish the mission. But they know their bounds. And if they have a question about a bound, a left or right lateral limit, they're going to ask. They're going to ask leadership, what do I do? How do I do it? And can I do it? So there's still structure there. It's not everybody go off and do their thing because I trust you. There's still that structure.
What about you, Dan?
You know, it's funny because it's kind of a blend of like almost two different concepts here. The first thing that actually came to mind as you were speaking, Larry, is discipline equals freedom. So it's funny because it's like a blend of exactly what you're talking about with Marine Corps doctrine and then allowing others to do the same. So, you know, kind of flipping the script. If you're hard with oneself, if you're disciplined with oneself, if you're accountable to oneself, then you're going to attract the right people in your own sphere that want to work with you because you're a woman, you're a man of discipline. You're creating opportunity through that discipline. And then as you expand your own sphere, you're going to attract other professionals to you, which allow you to amplify your goals. So it's kind of funny. It's like a blend of it all.
So the last one is rise through adversity. To me, it's the Mike Tyson, you know, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. What do you do when you get punched in the face? For me, I always have I'm a very a big planner, but my goal is to get the plan, get it good, and then get out there and do it. And you know, if you fail, that's okay. You're not a failure till you quit. Just get up and do it again. You'll figure out what you learn your lesson, and then you get out there and you do it again and make it better. So that's, to me, rise through adversity. Nothing's easy. In our industry, the last 3.5 years have been pretty tough. You look at the attrition and for realtors and for lenders, a lot of people who are no longer in this industry, a lot of people who had to take other jobs because of the adversity. And I'm not judging them for doing that. We all went through. We all handled it different ways. Some people had to go and, you know, get other jobs because they had responsibilities. But to me, it's, you know, how do you handle the unknown when it happens? Do you give up? Do you go in a corner in a little ball in a fetal position? No, you rise. And that's where, you know, through all the challenges that we have, whether it's in the service, whether it's, you know, we fail an inspection or 9/11 happens and we got to go develop con ops for escorting ships through the Strait of Malacca on a ship that has no small arms, a missile launcher that doesn't work, and a gun, a 76 millimeter gun that has zero positive effect in the Strait of Malacca. And we don't have the armament set up. It was funny. We had sonar techs. We're racing down to learn how to go escort the shipping through the Strait of Malacca after 9/11. And our sonar we weren't hunting subs. Our sonar techs became gunners. And we had sound powered phones, comms between all the stations. Our command master chief was on the pilot house.
he was directing comms, directing fires. Our command master chief was a DC man, a damage controlman, and it was chaos. But it was, we trained and we got it down. We figured things out through adversity. The whole time down there, this doesn't work. How do we do this? It was pretty amazing. That's what adversity, rising through adversity is. I got on a tangent there, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, let me pick up though there, because that's control what you can control. So keep a positive attitude and control what you can control and do your best with that and be persistent in doing so. Because if it's something you can't control, by definition, you can't affect it. So if you control it, then make the adjustments within what you can control. Be persistent and train to that, and know your plan, know your process.
I love this concept. This is something I'm like fascinated with. Forged in adversity is just one of like the pillars that everybody should live their life by. It's really funny if one stops and reflects on like all memories in your life, right? There's going to be magical memories like, I don't know, the birth of your first, child, or a wedding or something like that. And that's amazing. And those are, built in love. But for me personally, the majority of the memories that occupy my brain are literally those which were preceded with some of the most hellacious days of my life.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the fun and shenanigans that goes into being a Navy chief, or whether it was, being downrange with the Marines, the 5-day, one of our peers that just recently did this, but the 5-day crawl and hike up Mount Kilimanjaro, it was all things hard that led to the best memories of my life. If I reflect on something like, I don't know, petty officer 3rd class, 2nd class, graduating from college, these alleged memories of mine, like they don't actually occupy my brain too much, even though they're supposed to be amazing, because it wasn't that hard. Right. But if you're sitting around, you're talking slower, you're having a drink with a friend, like what do you lean on immediately? You lean on hard times, so it's just like case in point that everything is forged in excellence is forged in adversity. Strength, power, character, personal worth everything is forged in adversity. And it's the easy stuff for me that, just falls to the wayside. I don't even remember it, but it's all the things that actually sucked, embracing the suck.
Never heard that.
That was just like, man, so many life lessons learned, so much growth occurred. And it's those things that are at the forefront of my mind that I will be, sharing with my children, my unborn son, like, hey, we fail forward. Like, this is how you get ahead in life. Like, if you're not failing, you're not even trying. Fail forward.
That's a great lead in, because I was thinking the exact same thing. My kids are 14 and 12. So they're in this stage of making mistakes and being, having to deal with failure. And, we're trying to impress upon them what I learned through all my experiences. You have a plan and it just doesn't. I just go into a plan. I set up a plan and I just assume that something is going to go wrong. And you just have to learn how to adapt, problem solve, and move forward. And there's no point in looking at what failed. And I mean, obviously you want to look at what you did wrong, but like dwelling on the failure. And so, we're trying to teach our kids, when something doesn't go right, you press forward, you work through it, you problem solve, but there's no point in dwelling on your negative feelings and feeling bad about yourself. Just keep pressing forward,
So last note on that, I was listening to a podcast, Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning, and he's talking about himself, and he was in a car accident when he was 20 years old, 20 years old. Car across the median, drunk driver, hits the Mustang that he's in. The Mustang's just obliterated, and he's broken almost every bone you can think of. And he works through all that adversity. He's in the hospital. The doctors go to his parents because he has a good attitude about everything that he's doing. And they go to his parents and say, hey, physically, Hal's doing okay. But we're concerned mentally and emotionally how he's doing. And the parents are like, okay. So Dad goes and addresses it with him, turns off the TV in the room and says, hey, and Hal realizes Dad's doing this. He says, Dad, what's up? What's wrong? And so Dad says, well, the doc said you're doing well, but they're worried about you mentally and emotionally. And he says, Dad, it's the 5-minute rule. I've told you and Mom this thousands of times. I learned it from Cutco cutlery that I sold. And Dad's like, what? It's like the 5-minute rule. If something goes wrong, if you don't make a sale, somebody doesn't show up for an appointment, whatever, you got 5 minutes to be upset about it. Whether it's 5 minutes, you get it down to 5 minutes and you need longer, you got 5 minutes to bitch, moan, do whatever you got to do. Mm. And so he said, that's how I'm going to live. If I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life. I'm going to have the most fun I can and make the most of life. And if I walk again, then I get to walk again. But no matter what I do, I'm going to have the best life that I can have. So that persistence, that ability to just stay positive and get through it.
Well, in that, it arrives with adversity on it. That is impressive. That's a great story. So we'll go real quick around the room. Which one of these 8 tenets has had the biggest impact on your career? And if career or life?
Yeah, I'll start first with adversity. Not to go into my childhood, but, I was once a kid with a ponytail and, 2 imaginary friends. And, and I had, I had adverse times then. And I remember just looking back on it now, just like really just cocooning and going inward and just woe is me mentality. And that really carried on with self-confidence and self-esteem in my younger years. And then just as I grew and then in the military definitely brought it out, it was just like, man, this is really going to suck. Let's go. And because I just slowly learned that, this is going to make me stronger. Between just like you get the resistance in the gym when, knocking out some bicep curls, squatting, whatever it may be, that resistance pushing against your muscles is making you stronger. There is no difference with our minds. Seek that adversity, do hard things, and you will grow. It's impossible not to.
What about you, Mike?
So for me, all of them just really, really get at everything, but the bias for action. And if you were to ask me to define myself in 1 or 2 words, whatever, I'd say I'm an action guy. Taking action and moving forward. And sometimes that just is, it's a struggle, especially when you're doing something new. But that's the only way you're going to grow and learn is by moving forward and taking action.
Eli.
I'm actually going to also say it's moving forward, rising above in adversity, because that has been the only way I have improved and grown in my life is when I've come through, had to face hard things, is recognizing that it's a hard thing, but it's not going to kill me and I can get through this, and trying to impart that to my children as well, but applying that to every facet of my life, in my marriage, raising children, in my business, just having that attitude and knowing that truth that it's difficult, but I'm going to get through it and I'm going to be better for it. Yeah.
I think for me, it's a combination of rise through adversity, move with Mana. But I think ultimately it's a bias for action, or move with Mana. Always do something. Never sit back, never get too comfortable, never be complacent, and take action. The reason why certainly I've been successful in this industry is because I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It may not work, but I'm going to do it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've been doing the newsletter since I started as a loan officer, and I still, every week, I do the newsletter. And it may not seem like much, but to me, it's me staying in touch with my clients, my Ohana, my family, and just doing that. And I know so many people who have done things in our industry and they get started, but then they stop. Do it and do it. dude, just keep doing it. And I think it's funny, like my newsletter, I think I miss maybe once or twice a year, I'll miss a week. But for the last 7, 8, 9 years now, I've been doing it every single week. Buys fresh. Just do it. Just do it. All right. With that, we're going to take a break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
This episode of In Search of Excellence Island Style is powered by the Broker Mortgage Experts. If you're building wealth, creating stability, or planning your next real estate move, you need strategy, not just rates. The Broker Mortgage Experts are committed to helping families and investors build strong financial foundations through expert guidance and personalized mortgage solutions. Excellence starts with the right foundation. Connect with the Broker Mortgage Experts today.
All right, so we were just going around the room and guessing what age, and you'd be shocked. Actually, go ahead and in the comments below, write what you think our ages are. And we'll, if you're within a year, either way, for each of us, you'll get a $50 Amazon card. Ooh. All right, so you got to be a year within. So if you guess that I am 45 and I'm actually 47, then we're in. But if I'm 48, you don't win. So it's plus or minus. Anyway, my first job I had that I did get fired from, I worked at Great America in Sunnyvale. Marriott's Great America. Yeah, I worked my way up. Speaking of buys for action, I started out doing whack-a-mole, and I was so good at that. I got to go to the bowling ball that you kind of push over the thing. And then I did basketball. And I love that one because we had all the gangs come down from Oakland, and I would be talking shit to them the whole time. But I did really well. And then I became Amazing Alfredo, and I wore this red and white stripe. This is the peak of my career. I wore this red and white striped jacket with a straw hat, with a fake straw hat, and a red bow tie and white pants. And I would guess your age, weight, or month of birth. And if you won, you get like fuzzy dice or a deck of cards and just some stupid stuff. But the age had to be 2 years either side. The weight had to be 3 pounds either side. And then the year or the month of birth was 2 months either side. So with the birth month, you almost have a 50% chance of winning or of getting them right. Age was pretty easy. If somebody comes up and they're super excited and they got kids with them, they're trying to fool you. And I had the hardest time with women's weight. But nobody wants to step on the scale. No women want to step on the scale. And so if they did, I would put my foot on the scale like right behind them. And it would pump up like 20, 30 pounds more. And they would go, oh, that's not right. And then everyone's laughing. But they wouldn't get back up on it. It's like, no, you guessed my month of birth. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was the best job ever. And the burgers were great. Anyway, so that's not what we're here to talk about. So let's talk about morning routine. Who's got a good morning routine?
Oh, I would not be the right person, but I'll tell you what my morning routine is because I have 2 boys and I homeschool. My morning routine is, though, I have to start with meditation and prayer. And if I don't start with meditation and prayer, it's a toss-up how the day is going to go. But if I start with that, usually, for the most part, I can have a very centered, reasonable, make good decisions, not blow my top with my kids. So I have to start that way for me.
How do you meditate?
Well, for me, I do, it's a guided meditation, and it's a teacher. His name is Roy Masters. And so I've been doing his meditation for 20 plus years. And I also just followed up with personal prayer. I mean, I know a lot of people do devotions too, but I actually haven't done that. So
That's interesting. I'm trying to meditate, and I meditate probably 5 out of 7 days of the week. Mm-hmm. It's difficult though.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But I'm getting better, I think. We'll see. But I like it. But the problem is sometimes I'll fall asleep. So what about your guys' morning routines? Anyone got a decent one?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing, okay, maybe that's my bias for action, is get your feet on the ground. The alarm goes off. Don't stay horizontal. Don't get on social media. Don't check the emails. Get vertical. Get moving. Take action immediately. Learned back in my corpsman days. Hydrate. Hydrate. Like the first thing that you should be doing is hydrating. Get 20 ounces, 30 ounces of water, maybe a pinch of salt, Get hydrated immediately. It does amazing for your body. I'll just leave it at that. Gets everything moving. And from there, I do the same thing. I get in the Word. Because in my younger days, the first thing I used to do was Facebook, was the news. So what great way to start your day at 5 a.m. than the world pouring into your brain just to piss you off. So I finally got super strict on that. I hydrate and I get into the Word. I get aligned with my North Star, and it's hard not to have a better day starting like that.
So for my morning routine is I get up at 4 o'clock every day. On weekends, I'll sleep in till 5, but 4 o'clock every day, hydrate. I do my AG1, my greens, get that going.
I have a cup of mushroom coffee. I've gotten off of coffee first thing and doing mushroom coffee. Still getting used to the flavor of it, but it's good. And then I jump in the Bible, pray. I read a book, 10 pages of a book. I've been doing that for the last 10 years. I used to never read 10 pages of a book. It's a professional book or a leadership type book, kind of get going with that. Once I get through that, a journal, boom, I hit the gym. Like a little more hydration, hit the gym, whether it's lifting weights, hitting the Peloton, surfing. Sometimes I'll go to the golf course, play 9 holes or whatever, but just do something. And really, because I get up early, nobody's messing with me. The hard part, though, I think for me is, sometimes that dang phone, Instagram, whatever it is, don't look at email. Oh my gosh. That is the biggest way to ruin your day right out the gate, even if it's good news, because you just get focused on that and you don't get to ground yourself like you were saying.
Well, what time are you going to bed? Be able to get up at 4?
So I put everything down at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I go brush my teeth, and again, not perfect, but what is James Clear's Atomic Habits. You can miss it one day, but don't do it twice. But I put the phone down, brush my teeth, wash my face, jump into bed. I read a book. Reading a book for me at night, man, if I make it through a page, that's saying something, but usually I'm out. I sleep with a mask on my face because my wife, she keeps different hours than me, which is really annoying, but it is what it is. We just keep different hours. So I keep her light on, my side of bed, lights out, mask on, and I'm out.
So Jonah wears earplugs too, on top of wearing a mask, just to make sure he doesn't hear.
Oh, I can't do that because the ringing in my ears is so bad. Yeah, I don't know how I sleep at night because the ringing in my ears is so bad.
Oh wow!
And I take naps every day too. That's a routine, 15-minute nap. But I lay in bed and I got my mask on and I hear the ring. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to fall asleep. There's no way I'm going to fall asleep. And then the alarm goes off at 15 minutes. I'm like, oh shit, I slept. And then it's back another day. So
I hate to harp on this, but so how did you get into that? Because I would love to be able to wake up early, but I have a hard time getting to bed at the same time every night. So where did you get that discipline to actually do that?
Well, great question. So back in 2000, I was stationed in Japan. I was training for a marathon, and once I got to the ship, I was a chief engineer on a ship. And once I got to the ship, there was no working out. Well, once the workday started, there was no way you work late hours. So if I wanted to work out, I had to get up early. So I started getting up at 4 a.m. and I'd run. It was 6 miles from my house to the ship. So I'd run to the ship. And that's kind of how I started doing that. And I realized not only did I get my workout in, but I was on the ship before any other department head was. I had my day figured out. I mean, the plan of action was there, and we were. My department was doing its thing while the other department heads were getting there. They were getting there right before quarters. They had no plan, and they just weren't prepared. So they spent their first half of the day just trying to figure shit out. I had already gone through my message traffic. I already done all my tasking. I was done by lunch. I'm like, this works. And I've tried to sleep in. I'm gonna sleep in till 5 now. I can't. I like 4 a.m. It's just me and Kobe Bryant. Rest. May he rest in peace. 4 a.m.
The one thing I noticed about that, you probably wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have Vicky helping to make it possible for you to be able to shut down and go to bed. Or I don't know.
Well, I'm empty nesting now, so it's a little different.
Right.
We don't. It's just the two of us.
But yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But we work together. Like I get up, I finish my workout, usually around 7:30. She's coming down the stairs in her PT gear and she's going and getting her workout in. I make the shakes. So it's a team effort. I mean, we've been married for 33 and a half years. You don't stay married if you're not working as a team. And luckily, and she's been the one who's moved with every one of my PCS moves, over 13 or so of them. And I wouldn't be anywhere without her. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's team. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. For sure. So, what's your favorite leadership book?
Leadership book. I'm gonna kind of go a little outside the typical ones on this. I'm gonna go Man's Search for Meaning.
Wow.
Not a typical Atomic Habit or Discipline Equals Freedom, but Man's Search for Meaning is something that I visit annually, literally every single year, especially once I get into some rough mindsets.
That's Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. God, I cannot recommend it enough. But it's a great leveler for everything, giving his experiences. More importantly, it helps me remember, what the meaning of life is. It's not necessarily money and possessions and all these things. It's finding meaning in love, finding meaning in relationships, finding meaning in suffering. It goes back to adversity and finding meaning in our work. Yeah. And those things, it's just the world gets chaotic and all of a sudden I read that book again. I'm just like back in gear.
Nice.
Man's Search for Meaning.
I know you got a leadership book.
There's three and they all kind of tie together. Primal Leadership with Emotional Intelligence, then also John Maxwell's Laws of Leadership, and then
Like
also
a million books.
and then right,
They're all
his whole series is,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna laugh, Sun Tzu. God of War.
Okay.
And it all comes down to, understanding who you are, understanding others, and how that works. So,
Okay. How about you there? We all got books.
I've learned the most from my previous bosses. And we all have that one or two boss that you've had that just really set the wonderful example for you and really showed you firsthand how to lead, how to follow. So I don't have a book per se, but I just have a collection of experiences with different leaders that I've worked for that have imparted their wisdom, their time, their mentorship with me. So yeah, I don't have one particular book I'm more of a student of leadership just through my experience and just watching how they get it done. So.
Okay. I'm a Slight Edge guy. Jeff Olson. I read that book every year. I read it with my son every August time frame, and we do our plan. It works because when the school year starts, and it kind of goes into set my annual goals. But I started reading that every year, setting my goals every year. So for me, it's Slight Edge isn't necessarily leading other people, but it's leading yourself. You can't lead other people if you can't lead yourself. And that is such a great book. It's an easy book. That's where I got reading 10 pages a day from. How hard is that? I read 10 pages a day, 300 pages a month. You read 12 books a year. And actually, the second year I was doing it, I did 20 pages a day, and I read 24 books. And then I realized I don't need to do that. I'm going to go back to 10. But it's a great book. I highly recommend it. My son reads it. I used to, when I was a scoutmaster for a Boy Scout troop, I used to adapt leadership training, goal setting from Slight Edge and provide that to my scouts. And I did that for a year. And then the next year, I was a senior patrol leader in the troop. And he did it. He did it, I think, twice. Gave the training to the troop, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So all right. We have one more question here. What is best advice you've ever received?
shut up and listen.
Who told you that? Devil dog.
A number of people that I respected as leaders, and maybe even Dad, and not shut up in an ugly way, but just listen. Don't open your mouth unless you need to open it, and listen first before you do open your mouth. So, yeah. And that's a hard one. It's a hard one for me.
That is a really hard, best piece of advice. I mean, in life or in business or
In life, I think, yeah.
yeah. It's just to be yourself, to be authentic, to be sincere. And as long as you're doing that and you're trusting God, things will go in your direction, honestly. It's nothing too profound, but
No, it's good. Yeah.
Just to expand on yours a little bit more, the thing that came to mind at past, just shut up and listen, is seek first to understand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because if you shut your mouth and you just actively listen and you're seeking to understand, I mean, how great could our marriages be if we did that first?
It goes back to emotional intelligence.
Yeah. So, one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received is, you learn something from every person you meet, even if it's what not to be and not to do. You know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, it's great to lean on all the greatness and all the good things and the excellence and all of these positive things, but it's even better that if you actively seek to learn something in every single encounter, it could also be like, well, I know 100% that's not me, and I'm not going to do that. So you can learn from everybody that you encounter, even if it's what not to do and be.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like the weight of failure weighs ounces, whereas the weight of regret weighs tons. And it kind of goes back to, taking action. Do it, because it may be a mistake. You may mess up, but you'll regret not trying later when you go back, look back on your life. I wish I would have, one of my old admirals used to say, if candy and nuts were ifs and buts or something like that, it's just, you gotta get out there and do it. Otherwise you'll never know. And don't quit. That was the other one. Don't quit. I quit my baseball team, in my junior year in high school. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made. And that's something I passed on. I talked to my kids about that. I was just being a punk. I didn't like my coach. It doesn't matter. You're gonna have bosses you don't like. You don't quit. What does that do for you? And I think I could have gone on and played college baseball. 2 years off didn't help me. I actually tried out for the baseball team and I was cut. They asked if I wanted to be the manager. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I ran cross country instead. Yeah, don't quit.
Yeah,
I think it might be your kid. That was my story.
Yeah.
I followed that in that one.
So we didn't do my morning routine, but for everybody to know, I get up at 3.
oh,
And I didn't run to the ship, but I just got to question Larry's story before I get into my morning routine.
Which one?
Was he really running to the ship to get there and do his work? Or was he looking for the fresh, hot bread or danishes that were coming out of the oven right about that time?
Well, that ship didn't have it. They weren't that good. But I will tell you this. I get through the gate. This is in Japan, and they had the Georgia's coffee. You ever go? They have coffee machines. They have hot coffee in the vending machines. At Georgia's Coffee, I'd get a couple of those once I got on base, and I'd they would have those for my drink in the morning. But no.
So let me throw some shade. Yeah. If Colonel Mike over here is getting up at 3, man, I feel terrible for Lance Corporal Sully.
Yeah.
He's got to be up at 11.
Well, he gets up at 3 now because of Lance Corporal Stone.
Yeah, so no, I don't get up at 3, but I just, competition. I had to come up with a better story than Larry. I get up at 5, maybe a little bit earlier if I got something to do with respect to investments. So my routine consists of working out, and whether that's in my garage, in the gym, or running, at that time I'm listening to, it's my chance to listen to something that'll benefit me. And you're isolated. So listening to some kind of podcast or listening to a book that is self-help or self-improvement for growth, whatever it be, or at times it may be something that's just fun. That a new book that came out and it's fun to listen to, and I can run and work out and have that peace. So when I come back and I shower up I'm level. Yeah, I'm ready for the day. And I'm ready to take on a 2-year-old.
You got another one coming too.
So, yeah.
Yeah, your whole sleep schedule is gonna be messed up soon.
Oh, it
Real soon.
is. It is.
Well, hey, I tell you what, this is a good start. We're going to talk about what makes excellence island style. I'm really excited. We're going to have some great guests on. Can't wait. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you at the next episode. Aloha.
Thanks for tuning in to In Search of Excellence Island Style. Stay connected for more conversations with leaders raising the standard through purpose, values, and aloha.